Start.
Everybody, and welcome along to the first ever EuroNASCAR Esports Series race in conjunction with iRacing. Support from i-cin.com and supported also by Sim Racing League TV. We're here at the World Centre of Motorsport. The Daytona International Speedway will host this prologue event for the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and well, what an entry list we've got for you for our first ever e-race. We're not able to race properly at the moment, but this is absolutely a great way to kick off the season for EuroNASCAR. An enormous field of drivers, so much so that over the course of what we're going to see here online, we are going to be splitting the order of the day into heats. Qualifying will be coming up very, very shortly. And the way that it will work is that the fastest qualifier in the qualifying session will take up pole position for heat number 1. The second fastest out of the 50-plus drivers that are entered for this particular race, the second fastest of those will take up pole position for heat number 2. And the third quickest driver will take up pole position for the third heat, and so on. But then, of course, that just gives us the grids for the heats. There will then be 3 heats of 10 minutes. The top 20 drivers of each of those will head through automatically to the main event. And if needs be, we'll have a consolation race as well to fill the grid full of 36 drivers that will head around this fantastic facility. It's not the full speedway course that we're on, it's the road course that we're on. So it's a 3.56 mile or 5.279 kilometer circuit that takes in all of that 31-degree banking. So the cars will head round through Speedway 1 and 2 and down the back straight, but through the back straight of the circuit, they'll flick initially left and then right and then right and then left again through the bus stop before they rejoin the 31-degree banking at Speedway 3 and Speedway 4. So there's a fair chunk of the race that is on the infamous 2.5-mile oval circuit, but of course it's that intriguing and rather technical infield section. As we can see now, there is the number 90 car, Scott Jeffs, racing for Brax at the wheel of his Chevy, just working his way out of the East Horseshoe up towards turn number 4, which is the kink. And then once he's gone through turn number 4, the former Mini Challenge racer, Mini Challenge champion, will be hard on the brakes and up towards the West Horseshoe as it is. We've got a raft of world-class drivers as well entered for this particular weekend or this particular evening's race, and also for the full season as well. When you look at who is out there, we've got the most successful EuroNASCAR driver ever. Andre Villarino is in the entry list, 3 times a champion. He'll line up on the grid. We've got the double former champion Alon Day, the Israeli, out there as well. And also lots of former Elite 2 champions as well, the likes of Stinis Longines, the reigning Elite Pro, as it is nowadays, the EuroNASCAR Pro Series category winner. Loris Hazemans will be joining the grid as well. So there's plenty of drivers to talk about as the evening wears on. For the moment, though, in terms of qualifying, it is the American driver who raced with us last year in the EuroNASCAR Series, Andre Castro, that pops to the top of the time. It's a 21-year-old for DF Racing with a 1 minute 44.927. And he is at the moment half a second quicker than anybody else on the circuit. All of the cars out there and qualifying together, albeit the way that the server is set up for them, it is a lone qualifying session as far as the drivers are concerned. A lone 10-minute session, all the cars on track together, but they can't interact and therefore interfere with each other, which also means they can't crash into each other as well, I suppose, in that respect. So they will be able to press on and try and get their ultimate lap, and that is exactly what at the moment number 83 is looking to do, which is Jakub Krafek, who is one of the guest cars that we've got in the field. He's the sports sales manager for Autodrome Most, so he's driving the OMV Max Motion NASCAR Show Toyota. It's great to see him in the field. Renumbered car of Brian Krul's out there, originally expecting to be running car number 391, but he's pitched up in car number 378 today. He's another one of the drivers that is not a regular racer in the NASCAR Euro Series. He's one of the team members, usually engineering the number 91 Brax car, so he's brought the Ford out to have a go and has been particularly quick. And in fact, it's worth, just while I mention that, the way the numbering system works as well for this particular series and championship, and that is the easy way to identify the cars with their numbers. So if they're numbered 0 to 99, and those are in reality drivers that are part of the EuroNASCAR Pro category, previously called Elite 1, rebadged as EuroNASCAR Pro for this year. Cars numbered 100 to 199 will be drivers from EuroNASCAR 2, and that is what was up until last year called Elite 2, but rebadged for this year EuroNASCAR 2. Cars that are numbered 200 to 299, well, that's EuroNASCAR Club Challenge drivers. That's the regularity test that was previously known as Elite Club until the rebadge over the winter. And car numbers 300 to 399 are EuroNASCAR team members and guests. So a real range of drivers and team members that will be out there. But for the moment, it is Alain Day now that has gone to the top of the times. The number 24 car swapping over to PK Car Sport. Alain Day for this year has been running with Cal for a good number of years. Pops to the top of the times, the double former champion, with a 1 minute 44.904. Mistake there by the look of things for car number 188. That was Max Lancer, former GT Italia racer, former bike racer as well, was a 39-year-old. So he has aborted that lap and will have another go. See the tail end of the car sliding around there as Giorgio Maggi applied the power. He was runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 last year, missed out by just a shade from the quick Scandinavian Lasse Sorensen, who ultimately took the title, but Giorgio Maggi, the Swiss driver, looking to see what he might be able to do on this particular lap. Car number 18 running down in 18th position at the moment, 1.859 seconds to find. Nice and neat and tidy. Up towards the braking area for turn number 1, then through the slight little kink at turn number 2 onto the infield section of the road course here at Daytona, using all of the curb and not too much more. Then you need to move the car from the left to the right, heavy on the brakes up towards the east horseshoe. See, looking to push as hard as he can, but I think again Giorgio Maggi probably aborted the lap there, disappeared off the screen. So Alain Day fastest by 23 thousandths of a second on the ragged edge there, heading up towards the braking area for the west horseshoe. That was Stefan Krazin, again at the wheel of that Hockenheim American Fan Fest car this time. He's another one of the guest drivers that we've got in the field. There'll be 4 different drivers sharing this car over the course of the season. And as we go on board, you can see just how steep the banking is. 31-degree banking really draws the attention as you sort of look out of the pillar box of the windscreen. And, well, Stefan Krazin looking to see what he might be able to do. Very experienced e-racer is Stefan Krazin. The 40-year-old onto the brakes, in towards the left and right, flicks at the first part of the bus stop. It flicks right, it flicks left again. The tail end of the car trying to come around, steals into it with a raft of opposite lock, and that sort of undone the hard work there, really. So that will have cost him time, and at the moment he is hovering around 30th position, isn't he? Which is going to put him, if we have the 3 heat format, which is what we're expecting with the entry list, that will put him sort of 10th on the grid in his particular heat potentially, but still more work to do. Still time to do it as well, albeit he's just going to get over the start finish line to get one more lap in, because there's now less than 30 seconds to go in this qualifying session, and as a result many of the drivers have headed towards pit road. So Alain Day fastest, Andre Castro second quickest, third quickest at the moment. Bavo Fallon, what a fantastic lap that he managed to put in at the wheel of the 311 car from PK Car Sport, engineer with the team. Not a regular racing driver, but at the moment he has out-qualified the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion, Loris Hazemans, who is 4th quickest in this qualifying session. So that looks as though the rest of the cars just completing their qualifying, and from there they'll be split into their respective heats, ready for racing. Now, joining me in the commentary box for this one, we have a range of guests as well, but I'm going to bring in, to start with, at the very top of the evening, there's the results. We'll just guide you through the results. Qualifying results: Alain Day quickest of all, Andre Castro second quickest for DF1 Racing. Bavo Fallon was 3rd quickest and completing the top 4. Loris Hazemans. Ben Kriener, the young Scotsman, there in 5th place, ahead of Jeffrey Refent, who is there in 6th position. Alex Sedgwick was 7th, ahead of Alexandro Bragatti, Eric Filgaris, and Bran Kruls, who rounds out the top 10. Vittorio Gorelli was 11th. Tobias Danenhauer was there in 12th place. Advet Dioda is in 13th place, ahead of Marcel Lenertz, Ulysse Delceau, Mayan Kremers and Simon Belate complete the top 17. As we head further down through the order, Giorgio Maggi only 18th position for the runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 last year. Henry Tuamala was there in 19th place. The reigning driver who claimed what was previously called the Club Championship Elite Club, but it's now called the Club Challenge, is 20th, which is Alain Mascaron, head of Alex Fontana and Stefano Gustavalle. Ruben Garcia, the multiple Pinty's champion from Mexico, is just behind that. So cars already lining up on the grid for heat number 1. I'm going to bring in the man who is the president of the EuroNASCAR, Jerome Galpin, who joins me in the virtual commentary box. Jerome, we can't go racing for real, but we're going to have some great racing, albeit virtually this evening.
Absolutely. I think we will have a great race. Super fun to see our guys back on virtual track, waiting for. I'm super happy the way everybody, teams and drivers, responded to the appeal and enter this iRacing Championship Esports Series. So we are super happy with that, and it should be a great show.
I mean, it's been just your team. There's been a lot of hard work going to making this happen very, very quickly. As off they go on their rolling lap. We couldn't have done it without the likes of the support of iRacing and i-cin.com and Sim Racing League, and even TJ. They're on board with this as well. They're going to make a titanium ring, as they do in the main series, for the series winner.
Yeah, absolutely. We have great partners with that. I have to admit also that Gianluca once again did a fantastic job about that. It was I think the night and days. But of course, you know, our Whelen partners, General Tire, TJ, and everybody is also aboard. So we are very happy to have this to create some on-track animation, even if it's virtual. I'm sure the guys will have the same spirit, and we will have a great races.
Well, you were in the virtual race control in the driver's briefing earlier on, where they were told what they needed to do. They've got no damage bills, though, have they, Jerome, to worry about? Do you think it might be slightly more robust virtual racing than real racing?
I don't know. I just noticed that we had still the same questions regarding starting procedure and so on. So whether I noticed that some drivers are late. There are questions that they should have read. So it's really similar to real life.
So we'll find out very shortly, because away we go. It looks as though it's a good start from Alan Day as they head up towards turn number 1 onto the brakes. Loris Hazeman's briefly, I think, thought about having a look at the inside, but the gap was always going to close, and therefore the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion slots himself behind the double champion, the Monster Energy number 24 Chevy, leading the race. And I think everybody largely safely through the first corner, didn't spot anything. It's all rather close between the teammates further down through the order, but Alan Day at the moment looking to try and sprint away in the lead of the race from Loris Hazeman's. Alex Sedgwick is there in 3rd place, but the battle that's going on through the order are quite robust and nose to tail in the early stages of this one. Oliver 105 there, just heading around through shots. That's the car that's in the hands of the Dutchman, Marijn Kremers. Alex Sedgwick, though, has done a very good job, who I think did a full season with us back in 2018. We didn't see much of him in the EuroNASCAR Series in 2019, but he's a very experienced e-racer as well as Alex Sedgwick, and he's up into 3rd place, going beautifully well. There is a former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Tomo Ferrando, a little bit further down through the order. So he's got some work to do to thread his way through the order, but the leading pair absolutely together. These two battled wheel to wheel in the 2019 season proper, and well, in this virtual season that we're getting underway here. Alan Day is at the moment just ahead of Loris Hazeman, who's getting himself in the draft now as they head round through Speedway 3 and Speedway 4, looking to try and close the gap. Just half a second between the pair of them. Down in 7th place is Stefano Gustavalle, the Italian driver. There's Nave Talla, the second of 2 Israeli drivers that we've got in the field, the young teenager who did the full season with Solaris Motorsport in 2019. Looking to see whether he can squeeze his way through it ahead of Roy Hendricks, the team owner of Hendricks Motorsport, and he's through. Yeah, Nave Talla takes the place away, but breaks that a little bit too late, and Roy Hendricks is instantly back through and retakes the position. Great stuff. So for the moment, Jerome Galpin, who joins me in the virtual commentary box, all neat and tidy, all for the moment, everybody behaving themselves. Yeah, exactly. They are doing a good job. You have to know that most of them were not at all on a racing.
in the last months, everybody jumped on computers and steering wheel and pads to get in. And we all know that iRacing is a very challenging. It's really a proper simulation. So we are very lucky to have iRacing aboard. And also, you have to know that iRacing was built first for NASCAR. So the NASCAR cars in iRacing are particularly accurate, and it's not a video game. It's really difficult to drive. So that's why you have some.
And what's it like for you returning to Daytona? Because of course, see cars in your championship do a race here, albeit a demonstration race here at Daytona. That was way back, nearly 10 years ago now, 2011.
Exactly, 10 years ago. It was December 2011. We went there with 12 cars to compete in an endurance meeting, and it was a great memories for all of us. We were, I think, 30 drivers, and racing on this track is really special.
Well, it's just caught out Max Lance, his Cal Racing 188 dropping through the order as a result of that. He's now down into 14th position and has lost the best part of 11 seconds to the car that was ahead of him on the road, Tomo Ferrando. So there's more work to be done there for the Italian to try and carve his way back down through the order. At the front, though, Alan Day is continually try to open up the gap as we go on board with Brian Krul's fourth place car, looking back at the car that sits there in fifth place, which is Marijn Kremers, the former FIA KZ2 karting world champion for 2019. Very successful in cars, as Marijn Kremers been, and at the moment he's adapting to e-racing and the NASCARs around here, it's the NASCAR Cup Series cars that we're running. Same fixed setup for every driver as well. Full damage modelling on as well. So unlike if you've watched the main championship for the full Cup Series, the full NASCAR Cup Series, where they've got damage and resets available. No resets available in this evening. So if you damage your car, you're either out of the race or you've got to hobble round. And I think that's probably why most of them are behaving themselves for the moment in the heat to make sure they get through into the main event. As we go on board with Finnish driver Henri Tuomala on board the number 23 car. Henri was the EuroNASCAR Challenge champion, as it was called, for last year, but remember that's been rebadged as the EuroNASCAR Club Challenge for this year, so he is the reigning champion. Back on board with Marijn Kremers, still with Brian Krul's right behind him, less than a quarter of a second behind. This is the car in fourth position. There you can see Brian Krul's right behind him, beginning to close in again in the slipstream. Both of them managing to pull away also from Stefano Gustavalle, who sits there in sixth place and is just sort of dropping further and further back at this stage. You can't do a great deal about it. Other drivers or other people that join me in the virtual commentary box as well, I want to bring in Andre Weigald, who is one of the drivers. If you regularly tune into some of the German commentary footage that we have, then Andre is the guy that delivers the German commentary. And Andre, great to finally get some sort of season underway for EuroNASCAR.
Yes, we've been waiting all day long for the series to start. We know we have the time without real racing right now, but right now we can start with the virtual championship, and I think it's a very great idea. The drivers can stay at home, we can stay at home, enjoy some racing. So I really like the concept and the idea behind it. So yeah, I'm totally thrilled about this championship.
I've been logging on, I don't know whether you have, Andre, or not, onto the servers for the practice sessions over the course of the last few days, and I think it's fair to say some of the drivers are pitching up this evening and having a go at it for the first time, but others, wow, they've turned some laps this week just in testing.
Yes, I was on some of the servers and drove by myself, and it was really hard competition. I'm doing iRacing, I think, since 5 years, and a lot of guys were already way faster than me. It's very interesting how real drivers adopt to this simulation. They were not that fast in the beginning, but after 2 or 3 days, they're already on pace. And we have a lot of guys like Alan Day and Loris Hazemans that are incredibly fast because they have a lot of experience in iRacing. They are great real race drivers. So this combination makes the success in this championship, I think.
I think it's like anything, is the more you do of it, the better you become. And certainly Alan Day and Loris Hazemans and Alex Sedgwick, all running first, second and third at the moment, put in hours on various e-racing championships, and that's why they're running right towards the front. Good battle going on as Henri Tuomala looks to try and sneak up the inside of Advait Dioda, but the Indian driver having none of it at this stage. Onto the brakes through turn number 1. Looks as though Stefano Gustavaye runs a little bit wide ahead of them, and he might lose 2 places here. Gustavaye, he just manages to rejoin the tarmac in between the pair of them. So Advent Yoda hangs on to what is, or gains what is now 6th position. Stefano Gustavaye dropping down into 7th, and Henry Tuamala, unfortunately, couldn't capitalise on it as we look back at him from Gustavaye's car. Up through the gears, down the straight, up towards the kink at turn number 4, as you try and use all of the curbs through that section, and Andre Weigard would have driven one of these cars virtually around this circuit. Just talk us about, from a driver's perspective, Andre, turn number 4, the kink. That is one unbelievable corner on the road course.
Yes, the whole road course is very special with those cars. The cars have a lot of power. You have to be very careful on the throttle. You have to brake very early because the cars are very heavy. And this makes the whole challenge in this race. You have to find the right braking spots. You have to adjust your throttle and be very sensitive to the pedal. When you put a little bit too much throttle on it, you're going to lose the rear of the car. And that's what makes it so special. It's a lot of power. There's a lot of low-speed corners, a lot of low-speed turns, and it's very hard to control those cars on this track. Yeah.
And that's exactly what we saw on the replay there. Thomas Ferrando unfortunately, the Ford went the wrong way round and backed itself into the barriers. He's now headed down pit road, has Thomas Ferrando. It looks like Justin Kuntz is in the pit lane as well. So there's a few drivers that have already had problems in this one. So onto the brakes, another lap about to be started for the car of Brian Krulz, who's now managed to get himself right back onto terms again with Marijn Kremers at the wheel of the 105 car, the Feed Vict racing car, which is the new team that's going to be joining us when we get the actual championship underway. And it's great that we're going to have that team that is a combination of the hugely impressive Jacques Villeneuve, who raced with us all last year in the EuroNASCAR Pro Division, the 1997 Formula 1 World Champion, former Champ Car Champion, Indy 500 winner as well. But he's teamed up with Patrick Lemare to form Feed Vict Racing. So Feed Racing and Victory Motorsport combines now to not just for them to race, but to bring through some exciting new talent. And I think that's where I'll now bring in another virtual commentator, Gianluca, who is over there in Italy watching this race, and is the man who's put so much work into this series. But the point I was making, Gianluca, is that we continually see in the real championship more and more young talent coming through, and Feed Vict Racing have done exactly that again this year with their own little selection process to bring in new drivers like Simon Palate.
Yeah, they have done an outstanding job, and you see many new drivers coming in, and maybe this virtual championship could also be great to introduce new drivers to EuroNASCAR, and they immediately find themselves at ease on this kind of track, on this kind of cars, and it's a great mix. They make for a great mix.
So there we go, checkered flag just falls. Alan Day does grab the win. He took the lead very early on indeed, and held on to it all of the way, despite Loris Hazeman's closing towards the end. There was not a great deal that the number 50 Hendricks Ford could do about it. So it's another win for Alon Day. And well, Gianluca, does that mean now he'll say that he's claimed 21 career victories? He was on 20 before tonight, but we're not counting E-race victories, are we, into their overall career, surely?
Oh, no, we're not counting it races, but
Alan will
there
want
is
it
a special one. There is a special one. His first win of 2020 in a NASCAR in NASCAR on a Monster Energy car came in the virtual world on iRacing. This is absolutely astonishing. I think Alon and Loris will give us some more nice racing in the main race for sure.
I think they'll be right at the front of the main event later on. So there we go. That is the first of the heats concluded already. We don't have to worry about the practicalities of real racing with rechecking the track for debris and bringing the cars back to the circuit, those that have broken down, back to pit road. We just reset the server and away we go again. And that's another thing that I sort of want to mention now as well, is that whether you're a driver or a team member or media or a fan that's watching, we're all missing motorsport currently. So whilst we're not in a position to race, when we do get racing, why not try and contact your local or national motorsport club or association and look at becoming a track marshal or corner worker? Because, of course, in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, we don't need to worry about marshals. We've got virtual ones that will count. But you can contact your national association. I'll give you more details on that later on. Confirmation of the results then. Alan Day takes the win by 0.4 of a second from Loris Hazeman's in second place, with Alex Sedgwick completing the top three. Maren Kramers was fourth ahead of Brian Kruls, and Advait Dioda completed the top six. Stefano Gustavalle, Henry Tuamala, Navi Talo, and already it's disappeared. So that was the top 10 we almost got through, but we are already on for heat number 2. And it is going to be car number 122, Andre Castro, who has been doing great things already this 2020 year in e-racing. I've already seen him been running right at the front in some of the other E-Series races that we've got going on, and he's got, whilst still only a teenager, the youngest ever NASCAR Whelen Euro driver we've had. Alongside him, Ben Kreener. Ben cut his teeth in e-racing, so I'm not surprised to see that he has qualified towards the front for this heat. Alessandro Bugatti, Vittorio Garelli are there on row number 2. Row number 3 sees car number 199, which is Marcel Lenertz, line up alongside Simon Palate. That's another one of those quick drivers I said to watch out for, that's racing for Feed Fit Racing this year. And away we go. Good start by Andre Castro as he heads over the start-finish line. The drivers were told you can maybe overtake on the right as the lights or the flag drops, heading up towards turn number 1. Running a little bit wide is Ben Kreener, but then cuts back and is able to retake the place again over Alessandro Bugatti. So it's as they were, really, despite Kreener originally dropping from second down into third. And that's a spin. Facing the wrong way is Jakub Krafek at the wheel of the Autodrome Most supported car. So he's tumbled his way down to the back of the order. Alain Moscaron looking to try and push on. Driver who, as we say, is stepping up to EuroNASCAR 2 this year, having competed and won the championship in EuroNASCAR Club Challenge last year, as we go on board with the Frenchman round through what is the right-hand East Horseshoe. He's got behind him, now that behind him looks as though it's the multiple Mexican NASCAR champion that's behind him, which is Ruben Garcia, reigning, remember, Pinty's champion for this year and for last year as well, and in 15 as well, 2015. He's also a former NASCAR Stock V6 champion, and was also racing in the main ENASCAR race in Texas that was held just a few weekends ago as well. So another driver that is proving that he's quick on the track and in the simulator as well. But Castro is already starting to open up a little bit of an advantage. Jerome Galpin still joins me in the virtual commentary box. Jerome, 2 race starts, 2 fairly clean starts. Hats off to the drivers.
Yeah, really cool. I think they did a great job handling the big machine on this. It's the first time when we have drivers competing Elite 1, EuroNASCAR Pro drivers, EuroNASCAR 2, but also team members, special guests, because we have seen good result in the previous race from MotoGP rider Iker Lecuona racing on the Valencia car. So it's very good mix of drivers coming from the super job.
It is, yes, side by side through turns number 2 and turn number 3, but Alessandro Bugatti takes second place away from the number 33 Chevy in the hands of the Scotsman Ben Kreener. Ben Kreener will be watching his mirrors as well, just making sure that closing in behind him not too quickly as Marcel Lenertz, but at the moment the driver who again is another one of these drivers that's come through the recruitment program and has been to one of the recruitment days, is showing a good hand here. I want to touch on that with Jerome Galpin again in a few moments if I can, because at the moment this is a great fight for second, for third and for fourth position, and I think all of those drivers, second, third and fourth, Bugatti, Kreener and Lenertz, Jerome Galpin, have all been part of the recruitment programme days, have they not, in the last few years?
Absolutely. We have newcomers from this year, but yeah, Andre, the young guy, Alex, they are all part of this program, and it brings more and more young drivers in the series, and we see on real life track as well on virtual track that they are super good, and that's how we built our future, by bringing young driver in the series, and we are really impressed by their maturity, even if they are super young.
I say it year on year on year, the strength in depth of the championship teams will get better and better and better, and I sincerely mean it when I say it every year. And here I am again this year, looking at the provisional entry list we have for the Esports Series and for the actual championship, and it's even stronger again. I don't know how you and your team do it, Jerome.
We are doing this all together. Our teams are doing a fantastic job too, and they are preparing cars. They are working with drivers to increase the level. And you're fully right. Year after year, it never stop growing. So it's not our effort. It's really a common effort. We have a lot of input and ideas coming from drivers, from team, from partners, track partners also are part of it. So it's not let's say we just handle the series, but it's really a common effort from the community.
Simon Pilate gets spun around there, and that I think was Vittorio Garelli that he got together with. Yeah, the Italian who was a front runner in the EuroNASCAR 2 Championship last year has now got a bit more work to do. Let's just have another quick look at it on the replay. Out of turn number 2, up towards turn number 3, which is the horseshoe. Pilate looks to try and squeeze through the inside. The door closes, and yeah, unfortunately, Vittorio Garelli just gets spun around, and that delayed a few cars behind him as well. So there's more work to be done there. Ben Crina is now looking to try and close in on Alessandro Bugatti for second position. Just 0.2 of a second between the pair of them. Out of Speedway 4, I think that is. No, it's not. It's out of Speedway 2, up towards the braking area for the bus stop. 2 drivers left as they go through. There will be Lake Lloyd, which is the lake that ultimately sits on the infield now here at the Daytona International Speedway, because that was where they dug all the earth from to build the bankings around the circuit. It's worked. Yeah, Crina goes through. Ben Crina goes through and now heads up into second place. Alessandro Bugatti dropping down into third for the moment. And that's 4 laps now that they have ticked off in this session. Can Ben Crina continue to hang on to the places? Andre, I'm going to bring Andre back in again. You've seen a lot of iRacing, and as you say, you've done a bit of NASCAR racing in iRacing as well. Some of these drivers brand new to it this evening, Andre. Some of them on the entry list, but not even here, largely because they're still awaiting for some of their equipment to arrive at home. So it's a good start, isn't it? And this is what the Prologue's about, isn't it? Giving drivers the opportunity to get used to it.
Yes, right. Everybody is like a family right now. I saw it in the last few weeks that all the drivers, they were together, they were helping each other to get this series started. And it was like, I don't care about the team, I don't care what happened on the track before. Everybody was helping each other to get this series where it's now. And we have so many talented drivers right now on the virtual track, and for me it's just fantastic to see that the guys are working together without being in one team or something like this. But in the end, right now, we see some excellent battles, we see some great fights on the track. So right now, they're all switching to driver's mode, where they all want to win. But before that, they were all friends and trying to get everybody involved, and that's what I really like.
It is, yeah. I've got to say, EuroNASCAR is one big family, and of course, then we're part of that bigger NASCAR family as well, all getting very close further down through the field, and that is Ruben Garcia managing to squeeze his way through to the red. So that's the reigning Pinty's Mexican NASCAR champion, gaining the place over what is our reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion. So place gains there for Ruben Garcia, who has raced with some of these drivers before, because Gianluca, who is still hovering around the virtual commentary box as well, we did see as part of the driver exchange program in Valencia at the start of 2018, Ruben Garcia Jr. came over and raced with us, didn't he?
Yeah, Ruben Garcia took part in that exchange, and now he was one of the first drivers to send us a message, hey, can I join the series? Of course you can, man. You're welcome, you're part of the family, and it's great to see many NASCAR drivers coming from, drivers in general, coming from very different backgrounds to join us. We have MotoGP drivers, and the surprises are not finished yet. You see, in a week or so.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the names, and I know that I can't say them as yet, but I'm looking forward to the next few rounds. And remember, this is a non-championship scoring round. They will be scoring points as we head towards the next round that will take place in just a week's time. So every week we'll be doing these. We'll be heading to Brands Hatch on the IndyCar circuit there, on the Indy circuit for our first championship weekend of racing. Then it's over the Atlantic, virtually of course, to Watkins Glen, before we then head back to Europe at Zandvoort, back over to the States to race on Indianapolis in the road course. That's the regular season. Then we head towards the playoffs, with the first of the playoffs, semi-final one, being at Brands Hatch, but on the Grand Prix circuit when we revisit it. Then it's back to America, Charlotte and the Roval. Remember, the playoffs will be double point scoring as well. And the finals for this year of the inaugural EuroNASCAR Esports Series, in conjunction with iRacing, will be held at Circuit Zolder. And uniquely, Gianluca, I'm not sure whose idea this was or whether it's a collective idea, but this championship, this esports championship, I think quite uniquely with all the other ones that are out there, will carry points to the overall teams championship. So the winning driver of the esports series, when we get towards the end of it, will get 40 points towards the actual teams championship when we get the full 2020 season underway. So there was the start line. But this championship, esports championship, the other ones that are out there, will carry the overall. So either EuroNASCAR 2 Drivers' Championship last year, but that was largely because he missed a couple of rounds. He swapped teams as well midway through the season, but certainly his pace at the beginning of the year, he could have claimed wins. Wasn't to be in the end, but e-racing wise, he's putting that absolutely right here. Traffic to deal with. The traffic moves neatly out of the way. I think that was number 354, which is the team manager for Cal Racing, who's come out to enjoy himself. That is Luca Caniore, who did a sensible thing there and got out of the way, allowed Andre Castro to blitz his way through and past. Andre Castro is now about to head over the start-finish line and grab the checkered flag. So Andre Castro with a dominant win in heat number 2. The American comes through to claim the win by 8.5 seconds in the end from Ben Kriener, who finishes in 2nd position. 3rd place is going to be Alessandro Brigatti. 4th is going to be car number 199, which is Marcel Lenertz, finishes in 4th place. 5th place in the end is number 888, which is Ruben Garcia. And 6th, didn't really mention much about the car that was running in 6th place, but worked his way up through the order. That is a driver who we've seen racing previously in the likes of Formula 4 in Italy and in the Lotus Cup Italia. That's Francesco Garisto, who comes through to finish for 42 Racing in 6th position. 7th place was car number 101, and that is Vladimir Tzoitzis, who finishes in 7th place. Vittorio Gorelli in 8th place. Alain Muscaron finishing in 9th position in the end, as he dropped a little bit down through the order as the race wore on. So that's Heat 2 now done and dusted. Remember, the top 10 from each of these heats will go through to the main event. So there, as we start to ready ourselves for heat number 3, this will be the final batch of drivers who will head towards heat number 3. Confirmation of the results then: Andre Castro from Ben Kriener, Alessandro Bugatti from Marcel Lenertz, Ruben Garcia, Francesco Garisto, head of Vladimir Tzoitzis, and Vittorio Gorelli. Alain Muscaron finishes in 9th place, and completing the top 10 is Jakob Krafik. So well done for Jakob Krafik, the sports sales manager for Autodrome Moss, bringing home the MOV Max Motion NASCAR Show Toyota, as it was one of the few Toyotas we've got in the field, to finish in 10th place. Simon Palate, therefore, will have to try and go for the Consolation Race, as will Ricardo Alita, Sven Van Lara, and De Villarino finishing 3 laps down. He had problems. Alexander Graf, we saw briefly on the replay, the number 77 Memphis Chevy heading off and into the barriers, and Luca Caniore also with problems, finishing 4 laps down. So heat number 3 coming up very, very shortly. This is the good thing about e-racing, Jerome Galpin, is that it doesn't take long to hit the reset button and get another race underway.
Yeah, that's definitely more easy than. So, but I'm super happy with the way the format is and I think action short races is a very good spot. And having seen a Mexican champion like Ruben Garcia battling our guys and our friend from Most is super exciting.
I think it's great the way you've brought different people in together, and I think in some of the races, we've got people representing teams, we've got people representing circuits, we've got engineers in here, we've got team managers in here, we've even got PR people in here as well. So it's a real mixture, isn't it, that we've got?
Yeah, and it's definitely more easy and less expensive to in iRacing than in real life, because some of those guys are but I wouldn't borrow them my car in real life.
There is a downside for you though, Jerome. The parts van isn't quite as busy. Here we go green again, and it is Bavo Fallon that is in the lead, heading up towards turn number 1 for the first time. Bavo is crew chief for the number 7 car in Hendricks Motorsport. He has done some kart racing in the past with Bavo, but he ran a little bit wide there, I feel. Contact further back, it all gets rather marginal, but I think everybody just manages to hang on to it. But it is going to be Jeffrey Ruthern who is the crew chief for Hendricks that leads the race. One driver that qualified much further down than I thought was Stinis Longines, who at the wheel of the number 11 car is working his way through the order. But up to second is Florida resident Eric Filgueras, another driver who we have seen competing with us on a few occasions, where he raced for Mitsubishi Motors in the 2019 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. At the moment, he is sitting right behind the race leader and not that far ahead of car number 311, which is Bavo Fallon for PK Carsport. His Chevy sitting there in 3rd place. So it's Ford from Chevy. There is Davide Dallara, another one of the drivers in the field further down through the order, looking to try and work his way up. Giorgio Maggi, the runner-up in the NASCAR 2 Drivers' Championship last year, he's running further down through the order than he would wish, down in 9th position. Remember, it's only the top 10 that are guaranteed to get through. And on the bubble, running in 10th place at the moment, you just saw it, is the number 79 car. That's the Hockenheim American Fan Fest car, which again, I'm going to bring Andre in again, because he probably knows a little bit more about Stefan Krazin than I do. But he's one of 4 drivers, Andre, that's going to be driving this car over the course of the season. He's done a bit of e-racing in the past, and he's been a huge fan and supporter of Hockenheim, and is the man who's been given the drive for this event.
Yes, right. This Hockenheim car is a wildcard car, and we see 4 different drivers in there. And Stefan Krazin is a 40-year-old German sim racer. He's a big fan of NASCAR, the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, like you said, and also a big fan of NASCAR in general. And he's doing sim racing now for several years. He's very experienced, and he's at home on the ovals in iRacing, and he knows those cars very well. So let's see what he's going to do in this race. He's surely not the fastest in this split, but maybe he can go into the top 10 and advance to the main race. We will see. That is one of those sitting ducks we have to take a look at.
Off the circuit, that's Scott Jeffs all over the circuit at turn number 4 at the kink in the distance. So that will see the number 90 car, as you can see on your screen, dropping down through the order there. Can he rejoin the circuit ahead of Romain Iniesta? I think he might have done, you know. So that's a slight mistake. That kink at turn number 4 is so easy to get caught out. Davide Dallara looking to try and close in on Stinis Longines, the number 11 car. He was runner-up in the NASCAR, the EuroNASCAR Pro category last year. He's coming under pressure from Davide Dallara though. Stinis Longines, former Elite 2 champion, now called of course EuroNASCAR 2 for this year, is coming under pressure. Davide Dallara jinks out of the slipstream. Is he close enough? Not quite when they get to the bus stop, so we'll still follow him round. Great battle for 7th and 8th position, and they're battling so hard that it's sort of backing up the cars that sit behind as well, because Giorgio Maggi is not too far away, but dropping off the back of them now. What's the car that was doing so well in the early stages, and that is Stefan Krazin. Out front though, it is still 307. That's the Hendricks Motorsport Ford of Jeffrey Ruthern that continues to lead the race. Eric Filgueras coming under more and more pressure all of the time from Bavo Fallon, who we ride on board with. Looking back at the car of Ulysse Delceau that sits behind. Ulysse Delceau, of course, another former champion in EuroNASCAR 2. He was the champion in 2018, stepped up to EuroNASCAR Pro for 2019 and announced he'd be doing both in 2020. So he's going to be a very, very busy chap doing the E-Series and as when we get full racing underway, both EuroNASCAR 2 and EuroNASCAR Pro. Busy chap. Here is Scott Jeffs. Oh, he had a spin on the previous lap at turn number 4. He's had a spin at turn number 3 this time, which is the East Horseshoe. Just got the power on a bit too soon, coming out of the right-hander, and the tail end of his Brax Racing machine instantly told him that enough was enough. So lap number 3 we are on at the moment, nose to tail, fighting over what is 7th and 8th position. Giorgio Maggi makes a bit of a mistake though that time, heading out of what is turn number 7, and that has instantly allowed Davide Dallara to go through and grab the place away. So Maggi now down into 8th position at this stage. So what can he do to try and close back up again at this stage? He's got a gap still, not much of a gap though behind him, and he's starting to come under pressure a little bit more from Stefan Krasin. There goes Stinus Longines heading in towards the braking area for the bus stop chicane, the Belgian driver. He became a father last year, claimed his first win in the EuroNASCAR Pro division last year. He is second in the overall wins table in what is EuroNASCAR 2, but it took him a while from stepping up from NASCAR 2 to NASCAR Pro to claim his win, and he did that at his home circuit at the very last racing weekend of 2019, and that provided in itself some fantastic scenes to cap the season off. Here is our race leader at this stage, Jeffrey Ruthern, going beautifully well. The Hendricks crew chief. So he has done some kart racing in the past, but not a great deal of car racing, but for the moment 1.5 seconds to the good. Let's have a look at what happened here. Car number 289 is Igor Romanov, up towards the king, loses the tail end of the Not Only Motorsport Chevy and hard into the wall. There was already front end damage on that car as well, so we'd already had a previous off by the look of things. Driver who'll be competing in the Club Challenge for 2020. Another one of those drivers, as we were talking about with Jerome Galpin earlier on, that came through the recruitment programme. So 4 laps done. I'm going to bring in Gianluca again for this one. Davide Dallara's gone off as well, so Davide fighting away. Well, that has dropped him out of automatic qualification by the look of things, because he was in a position that would have allowed him to have qualified automatically. Brake really late, tried to go all the way around the outside of Romain Iniesta and ran out of room, I'm afraid. That's dropped him now down through the order. So Gianluca, I just want to bring Gianluca back in again. We've been talking about the response that we've had from these drivers for the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, supported by i-sim.com and Sim Racing League TV. But the actual main championship, when we get it up and running, record entries for this year.
No less than 33, man. I apologize for earlier because my connection let me down. I'm sorry. Yeah, many entries for the real life season. 33 cars, 66 drivers. It's gonna be huge, just huge.
It's going to be amazing as and when we get it underway. At the moment, subject to else going on there, but at the moment it should be Most in the Czech Republic in June. But of course, everything, as we all know, is slightly open to variation at the moment. But we will hopefully get some racing done, and we will as soon as we can. We'll cram them all in if needs be. Ulysse Delso now. Well, Ulysse Delso has kept his nose rather clean in this one, up to 3rd place. Right behind him is car number 150, which is Tobias Dollenhauer, who is going to be racing in EuroNASCAR 2 this year. Another driver that's been through the recruitment program. There's just so many drivers that have done the been accepted to go on to one of the recruitment program days, which is a sort of a test day that gives you the experience to drive one of these cars, and have been there and done it and loved it so much that they sign up. So he's another one of those, so many of them in the Esports Series field this weekend. Alex Fontana is running in 6th position now, car number 342. Alex Fontana is test driver for 42 Racing, but of course he's got a huge amount of experience himself. And he got as high as GP3 and Formula Renault 3.5 World Series by Renault in single-seater career that he had, and is now running in 6th position. Stinus Longines still looking to see what he might be able to do to put Romain Iniesta under pressure. These two raced wheel to wheel plenty of times in the 2019 season, out of the bus stop up towards Speedway 3. Steenis a little bit slower out of the bus stop there, and that's such a critical part of the circuit because you come out of the bus stop slowly, it compromises your run of speed all the way through Speedway 3, Speedway 4, over the start-finish line and all the way back down to conclude the lap. So of all of the corners, I'm going to bring Andre back in again here. The exit of the bus stop up towards Speedway 3 is probably one of the most critical, Andre, I would guess.
Yes, of course. I was coming in with the second gear, and you want to hit the throttle, of course, to get onto speed. But you have to be very careful because when you join the banking, it's very hard to control the car. And this is a critical point. You have to really adjust your throttle and be very careful on the gas. And so, yeah, it's a very critical point on that. But we see that many drivers here are very careful. They are very calm on the throttle. We see not that much spinning, I would guess we would see. And on the top we see Jeffrey Rufen. He's very, very good right now. I think he's going to win this race because Eric Figueras is a few seconds back in second. So if he's doing his job well like the last laps, I think we see the next winner. And when we saw the other heats, this will be a tremendous fight on the top of this main race.
Yeah, the main event's going to be absolutely staggering. White flag is out, so Jeffrey Rufen is going to come through and grab a victory in heat number 3 of the inaugural EuroNASCAR Esports Series race in conjunction with iRacing here at Daytona International Speedway. It's very much been, well, not quite a lights to flag victory because it was about maybe 100 metres that he wasn't leading for as the lights went out. But after that, there was no looking back. Eric Figueras comes through and finishes in second place. Ulysse Delso finishes in third place, and Tobias Ballenhauer will complete the top 4. Bavo Fallon went well, considering he's just a team member, but going beautifully well at the wheel. I do like the livery on that car. He finishes in 5th position. Alex Fontana in 6th place. Giorgio Maggi in 7th. We do see automatic qualification for Stefan Krezin as well at the wheel of the Hockenheim FanFest car. He'll be very pleased indeed with that spinning the wheels up in celebration. Romain Iniesta, number 32, and Steenis Longines are the last of the automatic qualifiers. So Sebastian Bleekemol and Davide Darara, Scott Jeffs, Ariana Casali, car number 102, which is Alessio Bacci, misses out. And also car number, there goes Ariana Casali over the start-finish line now. And also missing out is car number 289, which is Igor Romanov, but we saw him have his problems and went off into the barrier. So a few of the cars that I thought might automatically qualify haven't, but the vast majority that I thought would be there or thereabouts would be. Here comes Alessio Bacci now over the start-finish line, one of the few Toyotas we've got in the field. Through he goes and grabs the checkered flag. Another driver that we saw racing in the EuroNASCAR Club Challenge for last year. Well, that's the 3 heats now concluded. Well, that means that the format now moves on to the Consolation Race, just confirmation of the result. So Ruffin takes the win ahead of Filgaras from Delso and Ballenhauer. Bavo Fallon and Alex Fontana complete the top 6. Giorgio Maggi, Stefan Krezin, Romain Iniesta and Steenis Longines completes the top 10. Missing out on automatic qualification, Sebastian Bleekemol, Davide Delara, Scott Jeffs, Ariana Casali, Alessio Bacci, and then at the very bottom of that list is Igor Romanov. So that gives you the order of the 16 cars that finish. The top 10 go through automatically, so that now means that we've already got, for the main event, the top 10 in Heat 1, the top 10 in Heat 2, and the top 10 in Heat 3 through. So that's 30 drivers on the grid for the main event. But we now move on to the Consolation Race. This is another 10-minute race. The main event will be 30 minutes. I don't think I've mentioned that to you as yet, but this will be another 10-minute race. Only the top 6 from this will advance to take up the final 6 spots on the grid. So racing's been fairly clean, Jerome Galpin, for the starts of the heats. I think drivers just treading carefully, seeing what they can do, but now it's sort of a last chance saloon for these guys, isn't it?
Yeah, this one should be the survival race. You know, when you have the last chance to qualify, it's now or go home. So I think it will be a bit aggressive, and we can notice that the Hendrix Motorsport is leading the pack. So that will be interesting to see if he can beat some of his drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good point, well made. Yeah, the team manager for Hendricks Motorsport, Roy Hendricks, sitting there on pole position. Simon Palate sitting alongside. Row 2 of the grid is Sebastian Bleekie-Molen, and alongside him, that looks like it's Luigi Ferreira that sits there. The third row of the grid, that was Ricardo Alita, I think, who's the team photographer for Not Only Motorsport, that lines up alongside the sister car, which I can't quite spot the number of. It's 289, so it must be Igor Romanov that's there. And thereafter, as the cars head down there, difficult to spot exactly which one's which. One of the big cars to watch out for in this one is on the fifth row of the grid, car number 22, white nose, yellow tail end, three times champion, the most successful driver in Euro NASCAR, Ander Villarino, number 22, watch out for him. Watch out for number 27 as well, which is Tomo Ferrando, and number 99, Justin Coots, all didn't have great first seats. And already in this contract, Simon Palate is spun around and is facing the wrong way. Ander Villarino gets tagged as well. Scott Jeff spins in avoidance of everybody. And as I thought, the Consolation Race might perhaps have a few more thrills and spills. Not to say that the heats haven't been exciting, but yeah, a few drivers getting caught out, and it's going to be, I think, Luigi Ferreira that is side by side with Roy Hendricks. They bounce off each other, they both take each other out, heading down and out of turn number 3 and up towards the kink. So that's both of the drivers that were fighting for the lead are now having to carve their way back through the order. And Sebastian Bleekie-Molen, who had qualified, was he something like 14th, is now up into second place, largely because he's kept his nose clean. And Justin Kuntz, who was off the back of the grid, is now ahead of Bleekie-Molen and up into second. An amazing first few laps, or first few corners, I ought to say, of the race. Justin Kuntz making a slight mistake heading out of turn 6 and turn 7. That puts Bleekie-Molen back ahead of him again. But Andre, rather frantic first few laps, but what a first few corners from Justin Kuntz, picking his way through the traffic. The number 99 was up to second, he's back down to third.
Yes, right, and this is one of the keys of success. Sometimes you don't have to be aggressive, you just have to wait for other people to ruin their own races, and Justin just did a great job. To get out of the way, don't be involved in the chaos, and just picking up positions by passing wrecked cars. In iRacing, a lot of guys know that this is the key to success in many, many races.
Oh no, and poor old Luigi Ferreira and Roy Hendrick come together for a second time. I think maybe Scott Jeffs was involved in there somewhere, making the initial contract with Roy Hendricks, who hit the wall at Speedway 3, bounced back into the path of Luigi Ferreira, and two cars that were fighting for the lead of the race at turn number 3 now are 2 incidents in, and both rather battered. And there's problem, that's Sven van Laara who's got together. Scott Jeffs was involved again. We only saw the tail end of that, but I'm sure we might get a replay as to what went on. But Sven van Laara, I think, was the car that spun around. I'm sure his was the grey car. Such is the entry list. I'm trying to remember them all. Yes, it is. Yes, Sven van Laara is the grey car. Right, lots of damaged cars, lots of smoke on circuit. Luigi Ferreira still continuing around the track. There goes Roy Hendricks in his battered car, who now running in 14th position. Here's a quick replay. What happened? Well, he'd already was going very slow, Sven van Laara. He pulled down to the inside. I think the incident had already happened there. So yeah, he'd already had the initial contact, and now Justin Kuntz slithers off the circuit. He makes a mistake. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen goes through, Max Lancer goes through, Igor Romanov goes through, and Justin Kuntz, all of that hard work to carve his way up through the order and into second place, all undone in a split second as he heads back down now into 5th position at the wheel of the number 99 DF1 Racing Chevy. Let's have a quick look. What's this? This is right. Okay, this is Roy Hendricks. Yeah, so Scott Jeffs gets a little bit sideways, makes contact with Roy Hendricks. Roy Hendricks hits the wall and then bounces back into Luigi Ferreira. And as I say, those two had already come together when they were fighting for the lead of the race. So how frantic is that? So at the moment, Davide Dallara, a 12.5 second lead from Justin Kuntz, who has managed to get himself back up into second. Last time we looked, he slithered off the track, was down into 5th position, but a stunning lap again from Justin Kuntz sees him in second place. So 12.9 seconds. Remember, it's a 10-lap race with 3 laps in. Could be worth just keeping an eye on that lap, because that gap, because the way that Justin Kuntz has worked his way through the order, he really has done beautifully well, and that's despite a grassy moment a few moments ago. Simon Palate, remember, he's in 3rd place. He was facing backwards at turn number 1. Is now running in 3rd place, ahead of Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. Igor Romanov in 5th. Scott Jeffs, who seems to have been involved in lots, is running a superb 6th at the moment. Thomas Ferrando.
I told you it would be a make or break.
Yeah, certainly has Jerome. He has worked his way through the order beautifully well. We did say, oh no, there we go again. Look, Sebastian Bleekemolen facing the wrong way at the bus stop, collected by Igor Romanov. Not quite sure what happened there, because I think Sebastian Bleekemolen made contact with somebody else. We did say, Jerome, we thought this one might have a little bit more contact, and I think we were both right. We knew what was coming.
Absolutely, I told you it was, when we thought about this format, be a make or break and a survival race, and obviously they are having a lot of fun together, so it's pretty entertaining. And I received the message from race control that drivers are okay.
Drivers are okay. Thank you. Yes. That's the one good thing about e-racing. We never need to worry about. Therefore, we can take it more lightheartedly when they bounce off each other. The other good thing is they don't have big repair bills, do they? As I was saying, your parts truck will be a little quieter at the end of this race meeting than the regular one.
Yeah, but the very cool thing is nobody will come back complain about something that happened. Fine for me.
Let's hope not. Davide Lara is doing a great job. The gap I thought would come down at the moment. It's gone out. It's now at 13.5 seconds between himself and Justin Kuntz, who has got, 2.5 seconds in hand between himself and Simon Palate. We're looking at the moment at Thomas Ferrando, who is not, at the moment, in a position that's going to see him through to the main race. Remember, it's only the top 6 in this one that go through, subject to any penalties that race control might apply, because they do have the possibility. It's not just iRacing penalties, there are other penalties that race control can apply, because we do have live race control working on this, and they can range from anything from a drive-through penalty to a stop-and-go penalty, or a stop-go penalty with 10 seconds pause between them, even to dropping to the back of the grid for the main race as well. They're the 4 different penalties that are aside of the regular iRacing penalties that are available for race control to deploy at this stage. Here is our third place car number 106, Simon Palate, doing a great job. He was the semi-finalist in the Feedvict Racing's 2019 selection process, the 18-year-old Belgian who celebrated, literally his 18th birthday only about 3 weeks ago, I think, doing beautifully well in this one. Number 77, Alexander Graf, with missing front and rear bodywork, still looking to try and thread his way through the order. He's now up into 8th position, the Swedish driver at the wheel of the Memphis Racing Chevy, multiple Swedish V8 champion. Memphis Racing ran 2 cars in the 2019 main championship season. They announced earlier on they would drop to just 1 car for the 2020 season as and when we get it underway. It's not been an ideal first night for the quick Swede. The damage to the car might mean that he's better through some parts of the circuit than Max Lancer, but in a straight line, because the damage model is fully on for these cars, it does affect them. You can see that Max Lancer was just able to sail his way through and past, and that's something I just want to pick up with Andre again, because you're familiar with these cars and the damage modelling, as Alexander Graf makes another mistake at the bus stop. Once you've picked up that damage, Andre, as we saw from Alexander Graf, might be quicker through the infield section, but come the straights, the aerodynamic effect of that damage take effect, and Max Lancer just breezed his way through.
Yes, right. Every contact you have in iRacing will have an effect on the car. You will definitely feel it in the wheel. You will see it on the top speed and also in the handling. And yeah, the damage model is very accurate. It looks sometimes a little bit too unrealistic, but the feeling is very, very realistic. And you also have to manage something like when you hit the front of the car on the barrier or with another car, you have radiator cooling problems or something like this, that your engine could blow up. So you have to check the instruments if the temperatures are right and something like this. So there are a lot of things simulated in this iRacing simulation, and you have to be very, very careful with your car.
Simon Palate, we just saw having a little bit of contact there with the number 99 car of Justin Kuntz. Kuntz got away with it, but poor old Simon Palate, who was running right at the sharp end, has now dropped to 6th position. And remember, it's only the top 6 that go through, and Simone Palate has got right behind him at this stage Ricardo Alita, so we can't afford to lose any more places as we go on board in 5th place now with Scott Jeffs, the number 90 Brax racing machine in the hands of the British driver, up the inside of the hugely experienced Sebastian Bleekemolen, and takes the place away from the number 69 car. So the Team Bleekemolen car in the hands of the 41-year-old Dutchman. loses the position. We did see Sebastian and his father, of course, Michael, racing the full championship season in 2019. Sebastian finished 16th in the Elite Pro Championship, but was also dovetailing that with the European Renault Clio Championship, in which he finished runner-up. So he's a multiple Renault and particular Clio champion. Here comes Riccardo Alita, looking to try and hold back the advances of Max Lancer. He really needs to, because at the moment neither of these two are going to quite make it through to the main race. So that means that Lancer is now up into 7th, Alita is down into 8th. And how far up the road is Simon Pilate? Well, he's now moved 7 seconds up the road from them, so he was almost under pressure, but is now able to regather his thoughts and work his way back up through the order. So despite the squabble these two are having, it's not going to be good enough for them to work their way through to the main event. Davide Dallara, though, a dominant victory potentially coming up. He is on his last lap of the race. He's got almost a 17-second advantage between himself and Justin Kuntz, who's had a busy old race. Justin Kuntz from the back of the grid. Despite the damage, Igor Romanov's going well as well, isn't he? He's there in 3rd position at the wheel of the Not Only Motorsport car. So another driver that's going to be joining us for the 2020 NASCAR Euro Series Club Challenge. But Davide Dallara is through the bus stop for the final time, heading up towards what will be turn number 12 or Speedway 3 here at Daytona International Speedway on the road course. And that will wrap up our penultimate race of the night, the Consolation Race, which is going to see him head round through Speedway 4 over the start-finish line. And it's going to be a win and through to the main event for Davide Dallara. He goes through and grabs the victory. Justin Kuntz really was in last chance saloon, almost starting off the back of the grid for this one. Was up to, what, 2nd by 5 or 6 corners in, then got involved in an incident and dropped down through the order. Hasn't had a clean race because there's been a few other sort of bumps into other drivers. No blame apportioned either way, but he does come through to finish in 2nd place. Igor Romanov will finish in 3rd place and make it through to the main event, as will Scott Jeffs, who finishes in 4th position, car number 90 there at the wheel of his Chevy. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen's Ford number 69 finishes in 5th position, and Simon Pilate finishes in 6th place, so subject to any penalties that might be applied, he will be going off the back of the grid for our 36 car final. So the rest of the cars just heading over the start-finish line. Gianluca still joins me in the virtual commentary box. Gianluca, full of action that one, but now we've got the longer, the 36 car grid, the 30-minute race to wrap up this prologue event.
Now it gets really serious, and you see there are drivers out since they qualified. They did a heat race and they're waiting, and the track is evolving in the meantime. So it will not be easy for the guys who qualified in the first heat to be on track now. The conditions are slightly different, but we're gonna get ready.
And that's the great
popcorns.
That's the great thing about iRacing, the track dynamics, because the circuit will rubber up. So confirmation, and Davide Dallara claims the win. Justin Kuntz in 2nd place and Igor Romanov in 3rd, ahead of Scott Jeffs, Sebastian Bleekie-Molen and Simone Pilate. Riccardo Alita just missed out on making it through, as did Max Lancer, who finished in 8th position. Alexander Graf and Roy Hendricks. Ariana Casali, Toma Ferrando, Yevgen Sokolovsky finishing 13th place, Luigi Ferreira in 14th, Alessio Bacci in 15th, Luca Caniore in 16th, and Sven Van Lara, we saw him with his damaged Brax Chevy on the start-finish line, another driver that did not make it through. So, yes, the consolation results, we'll see those drivers head through and will make it through, but there's some big names that didn't make it through. Ander Villarino stands out as one of those that didn't make it through, and I would argue Luigi Ferreira and certainly Toma Ferrando as well. So there's some quick drivers in that one, Gianluca, that didn't make it through. Unlucky for them this weekend. Next weekend, championship points are up for grabs.
Yep, and we're gonna go Grand Fetch, okay? You know the track very well, and it will be same format on the in the circuit, which is going to be spectacular. By the way, I was looking at our YouTube stream, and you know our drivers spend time there waiting for the main race by commenting.
Is that what they've been doing?
Yep.
Right. I hope the microphone's still working, because I think I just had a small issue with it. Apologies. But hopefully you'll still...
Mark, we lost you, buddy.
Hopefully you can... Oh, I wasn't aware I had a slip.
Let's see if Mark can come back with a new microphone.
Hopefully you can now hear me. Am I back? Excellent. Right, so apologies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a slight technical issue there, but with the spare microphone, which hopefully will allow to get through. A big spin there also, and that is Alessandro Brigatti that's had a spin and is facing the wrong at the East Horseshoe. The one that's more contact further back as well. Oh dear, right, okay, it's all going rather wrong. Sebastian Bleekemol made further contact with, I think that was Vittorio Garelli, but it's going to be Alan Day and Andre Castro that have avoided all of the chaos at the front. They are leading.
Hopefully we'll get back on track soon. Lots of traction in this first in this first lap. You can see that guys, they are pushing hard.
Know this circuit well. He will be one of the drivers that's raced around this configuration of circuit for real as well. He's running in fifth. So Loris Hazeman's still now looking to try, and in fact has already third position away. So that is place gained for Hazeman's, place lost for Jeffrey Ruthen, who drops down into fourth position. But look at the queue of cars that sit behind, ready to take further places away. Eric Filgueras is right with him. Number 33, Ben Kriener, is looking to try and go side by side with Eric Filgueras as they head round through the East Horseshoe. Filgueras gets a little bit sideways on the way out. That doesn't compromise his exit speed too much, so it doesn't hand an opportunity really for Ben Kriener. Down the straight and up towards the kink at turn number 4 they'll go. Not that far behind them as well is the number 105 car, which is Marijn Kremers. Marijn Kremers is able to dive through and take the place away from Ben Kriener. Kriener was looking to attack the car ahead, lost out to the car behind. Now there is Alex Sedgwick. We haven't seen big amounts of him throughout this main race to start with. He's busy having a battle at the moment with the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion from a couple of seasons ago, Ulysse Delceau. They're fighting away for 8th and 9th positions as we now concentrate our efforts on the fight for third again. Hazeman's under pressure coming up towards the bus stop. Good replay of Davide Dallara. Now I think that's not quite going to show the replay that we're after, so we'll head back towards the action that's going on track, pick up on that great little fight that was going on for third and fourth positions. Here is the battle for the lead of the race. Alan Day and Andre Castro at it again, the pair of them. Alan Day already having claimed a win in his heat. Andre Castro took the dominant win in his heat, and well, Andre, not surprising that early stages of what is a 30-minute race, remember, for this one, that these two are at it, and half a second between them, pulling away at the moment for Loris Hazeman. But he was busy, wasn't he, trying to work his way up into third place. Now he's done it. Can he close on the pair ahead?
Yeah, I think so. Loris Hazeman is quite one of the fastest drivers on the grid, but Alan Day and Andre Castro, we saw it already in the heats. Those guys are incredibly fast. We saw it already on the guest races with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series stars in the last weeks that Alan Day is, wow, just a rocket in iRacing. And also Andre Castro, we see he's closing in. He's coming closer to the back of Alan Day, and I think he's going to try to attack him soon, because getting way on front is way more confident than just following the leading car.
What a shame for Moraine Kramers. Did all of the hard work of gaining place, and then having got through and gaining a position, just applied a bit too much throttle coming out of the East Horseshoe, and it was enough for the tail end of the Feedvic racing machine to spin its way around. But say a driver who is going to be a very welcome addition in the 2020 full championship season, say was hugely successful in karts and is the reigning FIA KZ World Karting Champion. We dive on board with Andre Castro. You're absolutely right, Andre. The gap between first and second is as close as it's been over the course of the last few laps. Loris Haseman's still not really making an impression onto them. He's still 2.5 seconds back from the leader at this stage, and about 2 seconds back from the car that we ride on board with, and that's largely because Loris Haseman, I don't think, can shake off Jeffrey Rufen's tensions at this stage. So he's still in third place, but still coming under pressure for it is the difficulty. Onto the brakes, back off the front stretch and towards turn 1 again. So the infield section of this road course come the leading pair of cars, 0.5 of a second between Alan Day and Andre Castro. Loris Haseman's still sitting there in third place, you can see in the distance, but Rufen is still right behind him in fourth place. Ben Kriener a little bit on his own now in fifth position. Eric Vilgares completing the top 3. But the battle for third and fourth is raging. I think this is why at this stage Haseman's is falling away from the lead pair rather than catching them. It's because he's being kept very, very honest for third position. Nice and neat and tidy. Further down through the order, Advait Diodar's having a good little battle. This is for 13th and 14th position. The London-based Indian driver right up onto the coattails of Bavo Fallon, one of the engineers for PK Car Sport. For the moment, Advait Diodar can't work his way through. Driver that finished 4th in EuroNASCAR 2 last year did Advait Diodar. Here's another quick replay that we're going to see, and this is Romain Iniesta heading up towards turn number 1. Big spin going into turn number 1 and hits the end of the pit wall. He's not the only person ever to have done that on the Daytona road course, that is absolutely for sure. So Jeffrey Rufen still sitting there in 4th position at this stage, and looking to see whether he can hang on to the coattails of the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro Champion. Now Jerome Galpin, who still joins us in the commentary box, and the man behind this series, and of course the series thrill. Hugely impressed, I've got to say, with some of our drivers that are running in the number 300 cars, so i.e. the EuroNASCAR team members and guests. Some of them are very, very quick, very consistent.
Yeah, exactly, and we were talking about that at the beginning of the program, but we are really a big family, and having of the main concept also of this virtual series, because they are a big part of our real life racing, but they are behind the scene, so it's really cool to be able to have those guys.
And it's wonderful to see that they can rub shoulders with the best that we have on real race tracks, and keeping it fairly clean and consistent as well. I think that's what's impressed me, the consistency of some of the laps and how hard they're pushing, say, the likes of the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro Champion Loris Haseman.
Yeah, maybe they will have some nice in the shops and the pit boxes later this year when we come back to real life. If you can't do it, Bavo, I can do it myself too, so I think it will be fun.
If I were Bavo Fallon, I'd be knocking on Anthony Kumpen's door in the morning, and if I were Jeffrey Rufen, knocking on Roy Hendrick's door and saying, look, forget me being one of the engineers anymore, I want to get in the cockpit, please. Here we go, look at how close this is. Loris Haseman's just cannot pull away from Jeffrey Rufen. This has been a great battle all the way through, and now Rufen is as close as he's been all race so far, absolutely together. He's going to get a tow as they come round through turn number 12. This is Speedway 3. This is the fight for third and fourth position, but at the moment it is still just the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro Champion that is ahead of the crew chief for the number 7 Hendricks car in real life. Over the start-finish line, onto the brakes. Very difficult as you transition off the banking onto the flat to get the car anchored up and get it turned into turn number 1, because you're having to brake and almost turn at the same time. So you come off the bank, try and stay straight and get the car braked in a straight line. And at the moment, both of them doing beautifully well The battle for the lead, though, is still as close as it was as well, don't forget. This is Alan Day at the wheel of the Monster Energy supported number 24 car, the PK Car Sport car, still hanging on to the lead of the race, but Castro has reeled him in over the course of the last few laps, and the American is desperate now to try and grab the hold of the lead if at all he can. The 21-year-old hounding the number 24 car in the hands of Alan Day. Nothing doing as yet, the pair of them together, 6 laps completed. Still plenty of time for them to work out where the chink in the armour is. And I'm going to bring back in again Andre for this one, as a man who's raced on iRacing and knows a lot about NASCAR in general. NASCAR's, these particular cars, standard setups for everybody. We're on the road course, so they're not the easiest things to tame and drive. It's a slightly longer race than the heats, Andre. Is it just a case of, at this stage, Andre Castro sitting behind the race leader and seeing if there's a chink in the armour for Alan Day and an opportunity?
Yes, I think so. Consistency.
Yep.
Thank you very much, man. Is key in this race, and you also have to take a look a little bit on the tire wear, because, of course, the tires fall down during a 30 minutes race. I think we will now have no pit stops in this race, so maybe Andre Castro is just putting a little bit pressure on Alan Day and forcing him to wear his tires down. So maybe this is a strategy, just put the pressure on the leading guy and let him drive that fast that the tires will fall off at the end of the race. And also I have to jump in for Jeffrey Ruffin, sorry for that, but he's also a real racer in different categories. He has a lot of over racing experience in real life. He's not only a crew chief or something like this at Hendricks Motorsport. So we see that there's guys, team members who have plenty of experience racing by themselves and also being part of a team. So that's fantastic in my opinion.
Here we go, Andre. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware of that. Here is Jeffrey about again applying still to Loris Hazeman's. Andre, one other question I've got as well, and the circuit dynamics on iRacing also allow the circuit to rubber up as well, so no rubber on the circuit for the practice sessions. Then as we move through the heats, more and more rubber gets laid down like in real life together.
Yes, right, and the grip is increasing. Also the weather is very important. The lower the temperature, you have a little bit more grip. When the temperatures are higher, the grip will lose. So yeah, it's different factors you have to take a look at: the tires, the damage on your car, the temperatures, and so on. And these all factors will affect your driving style.
Let's have a quick look at what happened to Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. Nice and neat and tidy coming out of. She runs a little bit wide on the. See the damage to the front of his car, and as Andre was just suggesting, that will be affecting its handling and, of course, its top-end speed as well. The weather forecast, it's set, there's only one weather slot, so there's no variation in the weather, but the temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, 3 miles per hour wind, and humidity set at the beginning on the server at 53% humidity. Alex Sedgwick over the start-finish line. Now, Eric Filgueiras, who was running in 9th place, has just headed down pit road by the look of things, so that's going to hoist everybody up through the order. Bavo Fallon has got his hands rather full at this stage. He is trying to hound the 199 car of Marcel Lenertz that sits ahead of him. See Marcel racing things like ADAC Formula 4 and Formula Renault, and did do 24-hour in the past as well. So he's doing a very good job. He was former ADAC KF2 champion back in 2013 and is managing to hang on to the place ahead of the 311 PK Car Sport Chevy at this stage. They've also got Advite Diodar and Alex Fontana not far behind them as well, so that's another good little battle that is beginning to brew. Bavo Fallon isn't going to have a look at the West Horseshoe? No, not at all. Knew the door was going to close, backed out of the move, and if anything has perhaps just lost a little bit more time now to the black number 31 car of Advite Diodar that sits behind. 8 laps completed and of a maximum of 14 minutes of the race gone, so we're almost at the half distance point now, and for most of these drivers they still think that they are opportunities for them to work their way through the order. There's another battered car by the look of things. That's Ruben Garcia the reigning Pinty's champion, double Pinty's champion, looking to see whether he can thread his way through the order. In fact, treble Pinty's champion, of course, because it was 2015, 18 and 19 that he won the Pinty's championship. Marcel Lenert still under pressure from Bavo Fallon in this great little fight that's going on for 11th and 12th positions, the pair of them absolutely together. Bavo Fallon, is he going to try something here? They're side by side, just about daylight between the pair of them, but he's going to be on the outside line as they head in towards the braking area for turn number 1. Can he get the job done? Not quite, he's still on the outside line, so it is still going to be Marcel Lenert that hangs on to the place, but then Bavo Fallon gets a better run coming out of the corner. They bounce off each other side to side. The order is still the same. What a superb little battle. Gianluca, when you first thought about working with everybody and pulling this E-Series together, did you think that it could possibly, in your wildest dreams, have gone as well as it has done this evening?
I think I have to jump in here because I don't see Gianluca right now on the channel.
So, Andre, then I'll pose the same question to you, and maybe it's been an amazing start. This is just the prologue. This carries no championship points. It all starts to get a bit more serious from here.
Yes, right. And next week, every Tuesday in this championship, and we see a lot of tracks we know in the reality for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Next week, we have the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, a track we really visit with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. As a season opener, I think there would be no better track. The home of the famous American Speed Fest, the very popular NASCAR Whelen Euro Series race. And then we start collecting points, and we see already the drivers, they are giving their best. And when then there are points on the line, I think everything will heat up.
I'm going to pose the same question to Jerome Galpin as well, if he's still around as well. Jerome, what a great start. Prologue event, no championship points, but some of the racing has been superb.
Yeah, it was a big jump in the unknown events where everybody can get used to the format, but you have to know that 70% of those guys. So we can be very, very happy with the result, and clearly, you know, imagine what it can be on a small track like a Brands Hatch Indy. In real life, it's clearly one of the highlights of the championship. So I'm sure in virtual it will be one of the virtual highlights of the championship too.
I think Brands Hatch next weekend could be very, very interesting as well. It's usually called American Speed Fest. Are we going to call it E-Fest, are we, for next weekend?
Exactly, and we can rely on our friends from NASCAR join us there too.
I'm sure they will as well. Yeah, Tom Aaron and the marketing team at Brands Hatch. So race continuing to wear on, battle still raging out on circuits, out front. Still this good fight that's going on between Alan Day and Andre Castro. And here it is, that fight between the pair of them. Andre Castro still looking for an opportunity, but Alan Day is just making sure that he's driving consistently, as he always does, not making mistakes. And therefore, for Andre Castro, he might close to within 0.2 of a second, but that's with getting the draft down the straight, and then he's got to try and get the car anchored up. And Alan Day is always so late on the brakes, nailing the apexes, and particularly coming off the corners, getting off the corner quickly, so as to really prevent Andre Castro getting too much in the toe. The gap closing again, you can see it's come down by another 1/10 of a second from this car here that we ride along the side of Andre Castro, looking at the car ahead, the Monster Energy Chevy in the hands of the Israeli, the double former champion in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, in the NASCAR Pro Division as it's called for this year. Alan Day having secured back-to-back championships actually in 2017 and 2018 under pressure from Andre Castro. The two of them absolutely bumper to bumper, not a single mark on either of them as yet. It's been clean racing from both, and at the moment, well, they've got to still keep rolling their sleeves up to fight it out for what's it going to be, about another 11.5 minutes at this stage. Still together up towards the West Horseshoe for the 11th time. Nice and neat and tidy coming out of the corner. Loris Hazeman's in third place, is still under pressure as well from the car that he had been doing battle with, and has been all race as well, which is Jeffrey Ruffin. But now Andre Castro has unlocked the door, potentially to try and work his way through into the lead of the race. Alan Day just a little bit wide coming out of turn 6 and turn 7. Can he get himself ahead? No, not quite. Great driving by Alan Day just manages to get across the nose of Andre Castro's car. Well, that was a glimmer, albeit a very small glimmer of hope there for Andre Castro. And Andre Vargard, who joins us still in the virtual commentary box, we were talking about early on, is Castro sitting behind to see if there's a chink in the armour and a mistake from Alan Day, and we almost saw it there, didn't we?
Yes, right. Alan Day is doing no mistakes, and like I tried to say before, and now I really want to say it, consistency is key. See, Mark, I can say the word. Alan Day is doing zero mistakes. Andre Castro is trying to find his way through, but right now he has no possibility to overtake the 24 car, and that's because Alan Day just is on his best. And I think we're going to have a very, very nice third part of this race, because Alan Day and Andre Castro have never seen such thrilling sim racing before. I have to be honest, it's one of the best battles I've seen in a simulation in my life. Yes.
It's great, it's fantastic stuff. Absolutely love it at this stage. Here comes Eric Filgueras. Now remember, he pit road, not quite sure what the problem was. He's running in 16th, he's now gone up to 15th because he looks to try and work his way past Alessandro Brigatti, but that's going over the start-finish line. Brigatti will have the inside line when they get towards the braking area for the next corner, and Alessandro Brigatti has got Advite Dioda ahead of him, and Advite Dioda has Alex Fontana, so it's all rather close at the moment. 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and you could argue 17th place, I think, as well, because Giorgio Maggi is at the tail end of this field, the runner-up in the EuroNASCAR 2 division last year. All right, that sorted us out. All of a sudden there is contact, and I think that was Advite Dioda that got together there with Alessandro Brigatti. Let's just see whether we can have a quick look at what happened there. Brigatti is out there on his own, so shouldn't have really have been under attack from Advite Dioda. I just wondered whether Dioda missed his braking point potentially. Here we go, see whether we get a better view of it. Here we go. It's Alex Fontana, was it? Alex Fontana, and yeah, Advite Dioda just missed his braking point. Apologies, I thought that was Alessandro Brigatti. So Fontana that got tagged around, and that's now dropped Alex Fontana down into 17th position as a result of that. He could back up on the lead of the race with 8.5 minutes to go. Alan Day still just 0.2 of a second up the road from Andre Castro. Chevy's 1 and 2 at the moment. The leading Ford is Hazelmans, who sits there in third position. That's lap number 13 now, and well, for the moment, Alan Day has led every single one of those laps so far. Onto the brakes, up towards the East Horseshoe again. With a quick replay, this is Stefan Kruzin at the wheel of the number 79 Hockenheim American Fan Fest car. So, nothing doing there. We'll go back to, oh, there he is, he's just had the spin. That would be down at the West Horseshoe where he had that spin. Rejoined the circuit just ahead of Simon Palate. So that puts Palate now up inside the top 20. And here's a car we've not seen a great deal of, which was Tobias Dallenhauer. We go back actually then. So now we're looking back at the fight for 12th and 13th positions. No, 11th and 12th positions, which is Marcel Lenertz fighting away with Bavo Fallon. So most of the battles that have been together for the whole race. They're just not spreading apart. We've still got this great fight for first and second place. We've still got Hazelmans and Ruffen together for third and fourth. We've had Lenertz and Bavo Fallon together for a huge chunk of the race. And if you actually look on the left of your screens there, you've got a great fight going on for 8th position as well at this stage, which is Tobias Dallenhauer fighting away with Moraine Kramers, and Ulysse Delso is looking to try and join in on the mix as well. Car number 10 running in 10th position, but we go back on board with Andre Castro right behind the race leader. Great noise the cars make as they head round over the start finish line. Another lap completed, and he's going for the inside line time. Is he going to get the car anchored up in time, or could Alan Day go back into the lead of the race? It's so difficult to break that late when you're heading up towards turn 1, and that's exactly what happened. Andre Castro threw it up the inside, had a nibble for the lead of the race, but Alan Day just let him do it, knowing that he was probably going to run out of tarmac a little bit as they headed through the latter part of turn number 1, and that's exactly what happened. Castro couldn't get the car turned in time, couldn't get it fully anchored up because he braked so late, and well, without too much resistance. Alan Day back through into the lead of the race, but we're now starting to get into a little bit more traffic than I would have thought before too much longer. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen's rather battered car will be the next to move out of the way as we go back down through the order again, looking at the number 83 car, which is the Most Autodrome backed car of Jakob Krafek. For the lead of the race, we'll have Sebastian Bleekie-Molen Ford to deal with before too much longer. In fact, he's gone off the circuit by the look of things. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen is in the tyre wall at turn number 7, that looks like, just as they head off the road course and up towards Speedway 1 in reality. And there's a problem as well. That's Bavo Fallon, who's been going so beautifully well. That is coming out of the East Horseshoe and up towards the kink at turn number 4 by the look of things. So that is such a shame for him as to why he'd gone off, because he was running so high up in the order. There's the tail end of it, just lost the back end of the car. Not sure whether it was contact that caused that, but into the barriers, and he will be able to rejoin, but that has rather undone a lot of the hard work that he'd been doing. Here's 12th and 13th places together. Alessandro Brigatti coming under pressure from Eric Filgueres, who gets the toe, moves one way, moves the other, moves his Chevy alongside and ahead. So that's a place gained for Filgueres. It does beg the question as to what brought him into pit road midway through this race. So he saw him heading down pit lane. It must have been potentially some sort of penalty. And then Brigatti gets very sideways. Bus stop just manages to tidy it up. That allows Advait Dioda and Giorgio Maggi to go through as well. So 3 places lost on the one lap there for Alessandro Brigatti. Not the kind of lap that the Italian would have wanted. The number 108 Feedvic racing car in the hands of the former FIA CIK kart racer, losing positions. There goes Filgueres back past him on this replay. That was heading up towards the bus stop. So Eric Filgueres with a clean pass in towards the bus stop. And what did Brigatti do wrong? The car started to get away from him and lost momentum coming out of the bus stop. Here we still see this fight that has been raging whole race so far. Loris Hazeman's still under pressure from Jeffrey Rufen, but at the moment there's still half a second between the pair of them. Now we are getting towards the final 5 or so laps of the race. Alan Day still out front and leading from Andre Castro, and they're going to bring Jerome Galpin back in again. We've seen many drivers in EuroNASCAR over the years. Alan Day is one of the many that is a great ambassador, isn't he, for European NASCAR racing?
I have to admit that we are super lucky with all our drivers and also our champions. You know, our past champion, of course, Alan Day, Anthony Kumpen, Ander Villarino. They did a wonderful job, and let me tell you, when we go to the NASCAR award ceremony at the LERC, they have this speech to give. It's also a challenging moment, as challenging as driving the car, and all of them, you know, Anthony, Ander, and Alan, of course, they are great champions behind the wheel, but also in the real life and as a speaker, as a promoter of the series. So we are really lucky with all our drivers and our.
And you look at, you know, we say that we're a family in EuroNASCAR, but the wider family is Alex Sedgwick's looking to try and gain a place on Ben Kriener here. This would be for 5th and 6th position, but we've got the wider family as well. You know, NASCAR is a global brand. We know we've got the driver exchange program as well, with the likes of Ruben Garcia Jr. coming to race with us, and of course us sending drivers the likes of Loris Hazeman's over to race in America. It's a EuroNASCAR is a family, but we're part of something much bigger, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, and don't forget our friends from the USA. A lot of them are on YouTube or Facebook, and we will have some of them coming to race in real life with us. Some others coming to race virtual in the future virtual event. So yeah, it's a big worldwide family. Our friends from Mexico or India or South America. So it's a big worldwide family, and that's super cool to be able to see all these guys on track during a racing weekend and sharing the same passion for pure racing. So that's it, what it's all about. But I think we have a super nice battle for the lead at the moment, and we can see as giving a really good show.
Sorry guys, I have to jump in right now because we missed a lead change. I saw it on a different screen. Alan Day made a slight mistake and Andre Castro went through. Just for the information on how we had a lead change.
Right, yeah, we're just seeing on our screen now the two of them running absolutely side by side. Nothing showed up on our screen, as you say, but yeah, that has allowed Alan Day again to regather his efforts and get back through again. We didn't see the mistake. What we did see was Castro, and the shot went back to it. Down in the lead of the race, but Alan Day able to work his way back through into the lead. So Alan Day now reasserting himself back where he wants to be, recovering from that mistake, and that was right at the very end as well, really, isn't it? Because the clock is ticking up all of the time. Right there is Alan Day. Now, is that another mistake as well? That's a live mistake there, as I think Andre Castro just tagged the tail end of the car there and got Alan Day out of shape. That will not make him overly happy, I wouldn't have thought. 1 minute 45.9 is best lap of the race that he's done so far. Of course, the previous lap with the mistake, and that one is going to compromise it, but Andre Castro now with a little bit of contact, I think, between the front of his car and the back of Alan Day's, has gone through for the second time to take up the lead of the race. There's also been a change there because Alex Sedgwick now is ahead of Ben Kriener on this lap, and also we have lost into the pit lane. Loris Hazemans has headed to the pit lane as well, so the number 50, Hendricks Ford, showing down now in 23rd position, having dropped down through the order. So I'm not quite sure what happened there exactly with Loris Hazemans, but his car heading down the pit road for some reason. There's number 33, Ben Kriener, now behind Alex Sedgwick, but still bizarrely in 5th place, with Hazemans having headed to the pit road. But he needs to watch his mirrors now, because Brian Cruels is right behind him. And Brian is another one of those drivers who is running car number 300 team member. Andre Castro will take the win as we get to the 20 minutes before the race is up, and a bump there from Alan Day. I don't think he was overly happy with what happened on the final lap, so he takes the checkered flag, finishes the race in 2nd position. Andre Castro celebrating in traditional style, but I think what Alan Day did there after the checkered flag, albeit virtually, probably shows that he wasn't happy with what happened in the braking area up towards the West Horseshoe on the final lap, where Castro just tagged the tail end of his car and lost him the lead of the race. So Castro will head towards victory lane. Remember, no championship points for this one. The rest of the cars feeding over the start-finish line now. Through comes Alex Fontana, who finishes in 14th place, chasing all the way to the line, I think, Yoda, but didn't quite make it in the end. And Bravo Fallon, who had that issue and went into the tyre barrier, finishing in 15th place in the end. But rather interesting race towards the end there, particularly the battle that had been clean all race between Andre Castro and Alan Day, just with the mistake from Alan Day that we didn't see on camera, the first mistake, but then we saw the second batch of contract between Castro and Day that ultimately changed the order round. So that is the first of our EuroNASCAR Esports Series races done and dusted, the highlight race in this prologue event, in conjunction, of course, with iRacing, and supported from i-cin.com and Sim Racing TV. We're hoping we're going to be able to have some interviews with our drivers who are going to be heading towards our virtual victory lane. And for the moment, they will come and join me in live commentary. But I just want to pick up perhaps a few points with Jerome Galpin and Andre and Gian Lucas showing online as well at the moment. So maybe your thoughts to start with, Jerome Galpin. First night of racing, prologue, something to highlight to the championship, and well, it certainly seems as though we have done exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. It's super exciting, entertaining. Super proud of the guys. They did. They usually do in real life. So I'm super happy with the program. It was really entertaining and a good racing. So congratulations to everybody. Good job, guys.
Thanks, Jerome. Yeah, confirmation of the results. Andre Castro claims the win from place and Jeffrey Ruffin in 3rd. Alex Sedgwick, Ben Kriener and Brian Cruels complete the top 6. Tobias Dianhauer finishes in 7th place. Marijn Kremers is in 8th place. Julie Stelso 9th. And Eric Filgaras, despite a pit a trip to the pit lane, finishes in 10th position. Marcel Lenertz is 11th, ahead of Giorgio Maggi, Advart Yoda and Alex Fontana. Bavo Fallon with his problems, but still finished in 15th place with Stefano Gustafaye completing the top 16. In 17th place was Alessandro Bugatti, who finished in 17th place. 18th goes the way of Stinis Longines in the end. Simon Palate was in 19th. 20th position, that is where we see the number 83 car of Jakob Krafek in 20th position. Alain Moscaron, Stefan Krasin, Scott Jeffs, Ruben Garcia, Loris Hazemans, Francesco Garisto, and Romain Iniesta completes the top 27. And that is the top 27 cars done and dusted. I'm going to bring in also our race co-commentator, Andre, to have a quick few words as well, Andre. Andre, great start to our E-Series.
Yes, right. I think racing, especially sim racing, is all about entertainment. And I enjoyed that race, so everything was fine for me. For the last lap incident, I bet the NASCAR fans will say it was a normal bump and run. I think the guys who are more into European racing say it was a little bit unclean. In the end, I'm not the race control. I will not judge it. But yeah, in the end, it was this typical dramatic finish of a race we all want to see.
It was great, was it? One of the drivers that might have a view joins me in the virtual commentary box, Alan Day, who led most of the race. Alan, we didn't quite see initially how you lost the lead. You retook the lead again, and there was a little bit of contact down at the West Horseshoe.
Yeah, I think it was a good race. It was a good fight with Andre. He gave me the bump and run so aggressively. So I had such a clean fight with him. Shame it ended like that with a bump and run. It ain't over. That's what I can say. But it was fun. It was good.
And it's a great way. You know, we can't go racing for real at the moment. That day will come when the time is right. But for the moment, it keeps you guys busy. And I know you do a lot of simulator training anyway, don't you?
Yeah, that's like the normal daily routine, even in the season, especially in iRacing. I spend quite a lot of time in iRacing, and yeah, it's a daily practice for me, even in the normal times.
Well, thanks for keeping us entertained, Alan. We'll catch up with you next weekend at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, Brands Hatch, I love it. And it should be fun. I know that Andre's quick as hell also there. We raced there before. I don't know if you guys know, but he's a rocket. He's so quick. But yeah, I will train as hard as I can to try and beat him.
Well done on the podium.
Without the bump and run.
Without the bump and run. Yeah, well done on the podium. Wasn't to me today. There's Alan Day.
Thank you.
Let's catch up with. Thank you. Thanks, Alan. We'll catch you at Brands Hatch. Let's catch up with the race winner, Andre Castro. Andre, welcome to the commentary box. Alan said that was one heck of a bump and run you gave him.
It was. I got to own up to that one. And it was such a good race up until that point, and we just kept trading the lead, and I messed up once I finally got it, and he got back down into me into turn one, and then down into, I guess, the horseshoe. Turn 3 or 4, he was braking really early the whole time, and the entire race. So I figured I would maybe try to give him a little bump and scoot on by, and that's what happened. I think honestly it was a bit of a bigger bump just because of the lag a little bit, but yeah, definitely something I expect to get in return in the future if it comes down to it. You know, on the final lap.
Don't worry.
I know I'll get it. Yeah,
I'm joking. Congrats, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. It was a really fun race, and I didn't expect us to be like that close the entire time, just like, you know, bumper to bumper.
I thought you were gonna take off immediately after the start. I was surprised that I managed to hold you.
Yeah, we both had really good pace, and then
you're so quick. It's
I wasn't sure who was gonna be the one that had the better pace, but then we ended up having the same exact pace, so it was like, I don't know, must have been a really fun race to watch. But yeah,
it was a great race to watch. You couldn't see some of the battles behind you guys as well. It was. Question, was there much tire drop off?
Yeah, there was a lot. There's like 3 or 4 seconds on something like that. It was pretty insane, but it was just about managing the tires, and at the end you could see Alon and I were struggling a little bit, just slipping and sliding and stuff. But yeah, it was a really fun race, thanks to DF1 and to
to all you guys for putting this on. I had a really good time, and man, just glad to put on a good show for everybody.
And I'm guessing, guys, championship points next weekend becomes even more serious, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it becomes. I mean, I think we treated it pretty seriously today. I mean, we were going at it and giving it the best we could. So it'll be the same next week, just doing the best we can, and maybe obviously be a little bit more conservative to make sure you don't make a mistake and lose points. But I think overall it'll just be the same. We're always trying to win out there, and we're not coming to finish in second. So that's what we're going to try to do next week too.
Entirely different circuit, Andre, next weekend though. From the Daytona International Speedway road course to Brands Hatch Indy circuit, chalk and cheese.
Yeah, it's pretty different. But me and Alon both got a practice race there a couple weeks ago with the ARCA cars, the Can-Am cars, and it races pretty well. It's almost like a short track. If you think of this as a super speedway, that's kind of like a short track, and you can tell already from our races that we have in real life just how good of a show you can put on there. So yeah, really excited to go next week and see what we got.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for keeping us entertained. Andre, the ever EuroNASCAR Esports Series race in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i-cin.com and Sim Racing League TV. He will now virtually, I would say, at this stage be grabbing his TJ Titanium ring as the winner for that race. But of course, it is just virtual. It will be the champion at the end of the series that will pick up the main ring. But well done to Andre Castro and Alan Day for keeping us entertained. I was hoping we might be able to hear from Jeffrey Ruthven as well, who'd had a great race for Hendricks Motorsport, but he's not dropped in to the commentary box. So thank you, Alan and Andre. They can sort of leave our virtual commentary box now. I want to bring in one more person, perhaps, for a quick chat before we sign things off, and that is perhaps Gianluca again, who has put in many hours to organise all of this, and is like a school teacher having to herd racing drivers to get them to do what you want to do, and they've done it beautifully well this evening. John, you must be hugely proud and very pleased.
Yes, you got it. I definitely am, and it was really incredible to see them to see this championship take life in the past few weeks. We worked so much, every one of you guys worked so hard to do this, and well, we got a very deserving finish. New racing, guys.
It was good. I quite liked the fact that they were light-hearted and giggling about it because it is e-racing. It's still serious. They still want to win, but there's no consequence in that respect. Had that have been real racing, Alan Day might not have sounded so happy and so jovial.
Well, I only tell you that they are in a separate conference room now. Thank you so much, everybody. It was fantastic.
It was scary. Thanks, guys. So I suppose that about wraps things up from here. Don't forget, though, this is a weekly thing now. This just prologue events that we've had today. We will be starting the main championship next week on the 28th of April. Same time again. So if you're watching in the UK, the broadcast starts at 1900 hours. If you're watching Central European summertime, it's 8 o'clock in the evening. And if you're watching Eastern Daylight Saving Time, as it is now in the US, it will be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So Brands Hatch next weekend. The week after, we head to Watkins Glen before we move to Zandvoort and Indianapolis for the main championship season. The semi-finals, we go back to Brands Hatch in late May on the Grand Prix circuit. Early June, Charlotte for the Roval, and we will head towards Zolder for the championship finals on the 9th of June. But that's all from a virtual Daytona. Thanks for joining us for the first ever EuroNASCAR Esports Series race. From the whole team here, myself, Mark Werrell, we'll see you again at Brands Hatch next week. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys.